Chosen one, pause for a moment and listen with your spirit, not just your ears. If you have arrived at this message now, understand this clearly. This is not coincidence, not chance, not a random algorithmic moment. This encounter has been divinely appointed. Heaven has aligned time, awareness, and readiness so that your spirit could hear what it has been waiting for. There is a reason something within you feels alert, attentive, almost as if it has been called forward. This is not entertainment. This is an awakening. Deep within you, something ancient has begun to stir. You may not have had language for it until now, but you have felt it, perhaps as restlessness, perhaps as longing, perhaps as a quiet sense that your life carries more weight than it appears on the surface. This stirring is not imagination. It is not emotional sensitivity. It is not wishful thinking. It is revelation. It is the deep memory of your spirit responding to truth. God has touched something buried beneath years of noise, survival, and adaptation, and your soul recognizes the signal. There has always been a part of you that knew you were different, even when you tried to ignore it. A sense of familiarity rises as these words reach you, because this truth is not new to your spirit. It feels remembered. It feels recognized, like hearing your native language after years of silence. Your soul already knows what your mind is just beginning to receive. That familiarity is confirmation. Heaven does not shock the chosen with truth. It awakens them to what was already written within. What is being revealed now is not a personality trait or a motivational idea. It is identity. More specifically, it is the truth of your spiritual bloodline. You did not emerge from ordinary origins. Your life has been shaped by more than circumstances and genetics. There is a lineage behind you, spiritual, royal, intentional. This bloodline explains why your path has been intense, why your battles were heavier, why your endurance has been tested in silence. It explains why your spirit refused to fully blend into the world around you. Understand this. God is not giving you new information in this moment. He is awakening remembrance. He is calling forward what has been dormant until now, because the timing has finally aligned. Identity awakens when the vessel is ready to carry it. That readiness has been forged through pressure, loss, endurance, and survival. You were not delayed, you were prepared. This message comes with authority, not because of who speaks it, but because of who confirms it within you. As you listen, something in your spirit stands upright. Something listens closely. Something responds. That response is the sound of recognition. Heaven is not introducing you to who you are. Heaven is reminding you. And now the awakening begins. As this awakening deepens, one truth must be clarified with precision and spiritual maturity. When heaven speaks of a royal bloodline, it is not referring to earthly ancestry, family names, or human status. This royalty does not come from genetics, history books, or social position. It comes from spiritual origin. Your lineage is rooted in where your spirit came from before it ever entered a body. This is why so much of your life has felt disconnected from ordinary explanations. You have been trying to interpret a spiritual inheritance through natural lenses, and it never fully fit because it was never meant to. Your royal inheritance was not passed down by human hands. It was entrusted by God Himself. It is spiritual authority encoded into your spirit, not taught, not trained, not copied. This is why you carry an inner authority you never studied for. You speak with insight you were never formally taught. You perceive patterns, motives, and truths that others overlook. This is not intuition alone. It is inheritance. Royal bloodline identity does not originate on earth. It descends from heaven, and that is why earthly systems could never fully contain you. From early on, you sensed that you did not belong in ordinary frameworks. You tried to adapt. You tried to fit. You tried to follow the expected paths laid out before you. Yet something in you resisted shrinking. You felt pressure where others felt comfort. You felt tension where others felt belonging. This resistance was not rebellion, it was alignment. Your spirit refused to conform to systems that could not recognize your origin. Royal blood does not dissolve into the crowd. It stands out even when it tries to hide. This is also why your early life carried unusual resistance. Pressure arrived before purpose was explained. Battles came before identity was revealed. You were targeted before you understood why. This pattern is not accidental. Spiritual warfare often begins long before conscious awareness because darkness recognizes what heaven has marked. The enemy does not wait for understanding. He responds to threat. And royal blood carries threat to every false system, every counterfeit authority, every structure built without God. Your struggles were never proof of weakness. They were evidence of value. Royal blood attracts warfare before identity is understood, because the enemy hopes to exhaust you before you awaken. He attacks early, distracts heavily, confuses relentlessly, not because you are vulnerable, but because you are dangerous once you remember who you are. The resistance you survived was confirmation that your spirit carried weight. This explains the authority you walk with now, even if you could not explain its source. You did not learn it. You inherited it. It was forged into you through endurance, pressure, and survival. And now, as awareness rises, the truth becomes clear. The warfare was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to delay your remembrance, but the delay has ended. The royal bloodline is revealed not earthly, but spiritual, and your spirit is finally recognizing its own origin. As the truth of your spiritual origin becomes clearer, the evidence of it begins to surface across the timeline of your life. Royal heritage is never invisible. It leaves markers. These signs were present long before language was available to name them, woven into your responses, your resilience, and your way of seeing the world. When you look back now, you can trace the pattern. Something in you has always known more than it was taught. One of the clearest markers of royal heritage is inner authority, a quiet wisdom that did not come from formal training or external validation. You have often sensed what was right without being instructed. You discerned truth beneath words, intention beneath actions. Even when you were unsure of yourself, something inside you remained steady. This was not arrogance or imagination. It was inheritance. Royal blood carries a built-in compass. It recognizes truth because it originated in it. Another unmistakable sign has been your capacity to endure extreme adversity without losing your core. Many situations were designed to break you, yet you adapted, survived, and emerged with depth rather than bitterness. While others collapsed under lesser pressure, you learned how to stand under weight that would have crushed an unprepared structure. Pressure does not destroy royalty, it reveals it. The very intensity of your trials expose the strength of your spiritual framework. Along the way, you were often misunderstood. Your silence was mistaken for weakness. Your gentleness was misread as lack of power. Your wounds were interpreted as failure rather than proof of battle. But royal heirs are rarely recognized in their formative seasons. What others labeled as brokenness was actually refinement. What they dismissed as limitation was hidden preparation. You were not falling behind. You were being built inwardly. Your survival itself is a testimony. There were moments when statistically, emotionally, spiritually, you should not have made it. Yet here you are, still standing, still sensing, still awakening. Survival was not accidental. It was ancestral. Royal lineage carries preservation within it. You were protected even when you did not feel safe, guided even when the path was unclear. Every pressure you faced was shaping structure. True heirs are formed through fire, not comfort. Darkness did not erase your light. It clarified it. What tried to destroy you was revealing who you are. Now, as awareness rises, those markers are no longer random memories. They are confirmation. Your life has been speaking your identity long before this moment. Long before you had language for destiny. Before identity was conscious or articulated, the opposition already recognized you. This is a truth that reframes your entire history. The battles did not begin because you did something wrong. They began because something powerful was present. The enemy does not waste resources on the irrelevant. What you experienced were preemptive strikes, early attempts to disrupt what had not yet awakened. That is why the attacks followed a distinct pattern. Rejection appeared early, often from places that should have been safe. Isolation was not accidental. It was engineered to make you doubt your belonging. Betrayal came from unexpected directions, and confusion clouded seasons that should have felt clear. These were not random hardships. They were strategic efforts to fragment identity before it could consolidate. Royal lineage is always targeted before it is named. What makes these patterns unique is their persistence and personalization. Others faced struggle, but yours felt relentless, as if the pressure adapted to each stage of your growth. When one tactic failed, another appeared. This is how opposition responds to royalty. It studies, adjusts, and intensifies. Yet even in that there is revelation. The intensity of the warfare matched the weight of what you carry. The greater the inheritance, the earlier the resistance. And still you survived. That survival is not a coincidence. It is evidence of divine protection operating beyond your awareness. There were moments you should have been overtaken, silenced, or erased. Yet something intervened. You were preserved, not because life was gentle, but because purpose was guarded. Protection does not always remove danger. Sometimes it ensures passage through it. Now what you are experiencing is not a change in who you are, but an awakening to what has always been true. This season is not about becoming new. It is about remembering. Royal blood remembers even when the mind forgets. That is why this message feels familiar rather than foreign. Something in your spirit is responding, not learning. Let this truth settle. Darkness fought you because it feared your awakening. The resistance was never proof of your weakness. It was confirmation of your significance. And now that recognition has shifted from the enemy to you. There is a reason your spirit responds to language older than culture and deeper than education. Your origin does not begin at birth. It traces back to an ancient kingdom, a spiritual order established before time was measured. This is not mythology or imagination. It is remembrance. The soul carries echoes of where it came from, and some souls carry them more clearly than others. You are not awakening to something new. You are reconnecting to something eternal. That is why spiritual memory often feels like déjà vu rather than discovery. Wisdom rises in you without formal instruction. Authority settles in your voice without rehearsal. You instinctively know when something is off, when truth is being diluted, when power is being misused. This knowledge did not come from experience alone. It precedes experience. It is older than your body, older than your name, older than your wounds. The body learned to survive. The spirit already knew how to lead. Many chosen ones quietly carry the strange sensation of having lived many lifetimes. You feel depth where others skim the surface. You sense consequence where others see chance. Time does not move through you the same way. This is not escapism or fantasy. It is the imprint of a lineage that has risen, fallen, and risen again across spiritual seasons. Kingdom bloodlines are not erased by one lifetime. They are refined through many. Pressure, then, is not punishment. It is formation. Destiny requires weight to take shape. Every season that tried to compress you was shaping the structure necessary to carry influence. Fragile vessels avoid pressure. Royal ones are forged by it. That is why you could never accept smallness, even when shrinking seemed safer. Something in you refused to disappear, refused to blend in, refused to surrender scale. You may have doubted yourself, but you never doubted that you were meant for more. And notice this pattern. No matter how many times life knocked you down, you rose again, not unchanged, but stronger, not untouched, but clearer. Rising again is not resilience learned, it is inheritance expressed. This is what your bloodline does. It adapts, remembers, and ascends. So hear the truth. Beneath the story, your strength is not personality, not willpower, not self-made confidence. It is inheritance. It is the echo of an ancient kingdom, still active in your spirit. And it is awakening now, not to impress the world, but to reclaim your rightful place within it. As awakening deepens, one of the first signs you will notice is a quiet but undeniable loss of interest in what once felt familiar. Old patterns, conversations, environments, even ambitions that once energized you now feel hollow. This is not boredom, depression, or ingratitude. It is alignment. When identity rises, appetite changes. What no longer matches your frequency cannot hold your attention, no matter how comfortable it once was. With that shift comes separation, and separation often feels uncomfortable because it is misunderstood. You may interpret it as rejection, people drifting away, invitations stopping familiar doors closing. But this is not abandonment, it is protection. Certain spaces cannot steward the version of you that is emerging. Certain relationships cannot survive the clarity you now carry. Elevation does not ask permission. It creates distance for safety, not punishment. As separation unfolds, discernment sharpens. You begin to see beneath words beyond appearances, past intentions that once confused you. Spiritual sight heightens. You recognize energy before explanation, motive before action. This is not judgment, it is awareness. You are no longer easily manipulated because you can sense warfare strategies instead of reacting to symptoms. What once felt like chaos now reveals patterns. What once overwhelmed you now informs you. This awareness does not make life easier, it makes it clearer. You begin to recognize when distraction is intentional, when delay is strategic, when compromise is bait. And because you see it, you no longer participate in it. This is why discomfort often increases right before breakthrough. Clarity disrupts old agreements you didn't realize you had made. At the same time, purpose begins calling louder than comfort. The inner pull toward alignment becomes stronger than the desire to fit in, explain yourself, or stay where it feels safe. You may still feel fear, but it no longer leads. Obedience replaces hesitation. Direction replaces confusion. The noise of the world fades as internal clarity increases. This is not isolation, it is consecration. It is the narrowing of focus before expansion. What feels like loss is actually weight reduction, removing what cannot ascend with you. Elevation always creates distance from what lacks capacity to follow. So if your circle is smaller, your path quieter, and your spirit clearer, you are not falling behind. You are rising. And what is rising cannot remain entangled with what is staying the same. As elevation becomes undeniable, the nature of the battle shifts, and it is crucial to understand this clearly. What you are facing now is not a fight for survival, but a war for authority. Survival battles try to break you. Authority battles try to claim your throne before you sit on it consciously. The pressure intensifies not because you are weak, but because your position is becoming visible in the spiritual realm. This is where identity reveals its power. Once you recognize who you are, chains do not need to be fought, they fall. Fear loses leverage. Manipulation loses access. Confusion loses ground. Identity is not a concept. It is a key. And when identity locks into place, the enemy can no longer approach you the same way. This is why the attacks become subtler, more strategic, and more psychological. The goal is no longer destruction. It is misdirection. At this stage, discernment becomes the crown that protects the throne. Discernment is not suspicion. It is sight. It allows you to distinguish truth from familiarity, alignment from convenience, and loyalty from proximity. Without discernment, power becomes dangerous. With discernment, authority becomes stable. As your discernment sharpens, false allies are exposed and hidden adversaries are revealed. Some people who once seemed supportive begin to drain delay or subtly discourage your growth. Others cheer you on, but only as long as you remain controllable. This is not betrayal for drama's sake. It is revelation for governance. Thrones require clarity. You will begin to recognize three distinct forms of opposition. There are watchers, those who observe quietly, studying your patterns, waiting for moments of vulnerability. There are disguised encouragers' voices that affirm you while steering you slightly off alignment, often cloaked in familiarity or praise. And there are spiritual forces, unseen resistance, that manifests as fatigue, distraction, or sudden doubt. Each operates differently, but all are drawn to authority. Do not be alarmed by this awareness. Pressure is not punishment, it is confirmation. Resistance increases in proportion to responsibility. The higher the calling, the greater the demand for clarity. This is why your discernment is being trained under tension. It must function under weight. You are not being overwhelmed. You are being entrusted. Royalty does not rule by strength alone, but by vision. And those who see clearly do not need to shout, rush, or prove. They govern quietly, decisively, and with precision. Remember this truth as you move forward. Royalty must see clearly to rule rightly, and you are learning to see. When you look back over your life with awakened eyes, patterns begin to surface that were never random. One of the earliest signs of a royal bloodline is an unusual sense of responsibility at a young age. While others were allowed to be carefree, you carried weight early, emotionally, spiritually, sometimes even practically. You felt responsible for outcomes for people, for stability. This was not childhood anxiety. It was leadership imprinting itself before language could explain it. Alongside that responsibility often came lifelong isolation. Even when surrounded by people, you felt different, set apart, misunderstood. You learned early how to stand alone, not because you wanted distance, but because proximity never felt fully safe. This isolation was not punishment, it was preservation. Crowds dilute royalty before identity is established. Solitude refined you. As years passed, heightened sensitivity and intuition became unmistakable. You sensed shifts in rooms, moods behind smiles, danger before it arrived. You felt things others dismissed. This sensitivity was sometimes overwhelming, even painful, but it was never weakness. It was perception. Royal bloodlines are tuned for awareness because leadership requires foresight. With perception came betrayal patterns. You were often wounded by those closest to you, friends, mentors, family figures. These betrayals were not accidents. Royalty attracts proximity before it attracts loyalty. Each betrayal trained your discernment, stripped naivety, and forced you to rely on inner guidance rather than external approval. Yet despite wounds, you demonstrated unusual resilience. What should have ended you only strengthened you. You recovered faster than expected. You rose again when logic said you shouldn't. This resilience is not personality, it is inheritance. You bend, but you do not break. Over time, prophetic awareness emerged. You began sensing outcomes before events unfolded, speaking truths that later proved accurate, warning others without knowing why. You may not have had language for it, but insight flowed through you. This awareness was never for control. It was for stewardship. Naturally, this led to a calling to protect and guide others. People confided in you. You carried burdens that were not yours. You felt compelled to shield, to advise, to lead, even when unrecognized. Royalty serves before it rules. And through it all, there was a persistent sense of being watched and preserved. Near misses, unexplainable protection, survival that defied odds. Something always intervened. Someone always moved you just in time. Now you see the truth. Your life has been evidence of your identity all along. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. Every pattern was pointing you here, awake, aware, and ready to walk in what has always been yours. Awakening to your royal bloodline is only the beginning. What follows is a deeper, weightier revelation. There is a difference between carrying lineage and carrying a mantle. Lineage explains origin. Mantle defines assignment. Many are born into inheritance, but not all are entrusted with continuation. This is where identity turns into responsibility. To be an appointed heir is not about status, recognition, or privilege. It is about selection for service. Heaven does not choose based on talent or visibility, but on capacity to endure, to obey, to remain aligned under pressure. This is why your life has been marked by preparation through suffering. Pain was not punishment, it was training. Each trial expanded your spiritual frame so you could hold what is coming without being corrupted by it. At this level, you begin to understand that the throne is not a seat of ego, but a center of influence. It is the ability to shift atmospheres, to bring order. Where there is chaos, to release clarity. Where there is confusion. Thrones in the spiritual realm are not elevated for applause. They are elevated for access. Influence flows not from dominance, but from alignment. With influence comes the responsibility of manifestation. What you carry must become visible, not for validation, but for impact. Silence refined you, but obedience will now require expression. This does not mean force or striving. It means allowing what has been formed in you to move through you. The world will not be changed by potential alone. Mantles are activated when what is internal becomes embodied. This is where heaven's trust becomes evident. You were not just preserved, you were entrusted. Entrusted with timing, entrusted with wisdom, entrusted with restraint. Heaven watched how you handled obscurity, disappointment, delay, and misunderstanding. And because you did not abandon your core, even when you questioned your path, you were marked as reliable. Understand this clearly. Many carry the bloodline, but few carry the mantle. Mantles require consistency, humility, and courage. They require the ability to stand without applause and move without permission. They require obedience when no one is watching, and restraint when power becomes accessible. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into what has been waiting for you to become ready. The appointment was always there. The delay was for formation. And now, as identity and assignment converge, you are being invited to rise, not as a descendant of royalty, but as an heir entrusted with continuation. This is not the end of your awakening. It is the beginning of your manifestation. As this journey reaches its culmination, understand that you are now stepping into the manifestation phase. What was once hidden, incubated, and refined in silence begins to take form in the visible world. This is not sudden luck or external validation. It is alignment meeting timing. The inner work has reached critical mass, and what you carry can no longer remain concealed. You will notice doors opening with less resistance, conversations aligning without force, and clarity increasing where confusion once lingered. Decisions that once felt heavy now feel guided. Your path narrows not because options are gone, but because direction is clear. This is what happens when identity and assignment synchronize. With this alignment comes a shift in your voice presence and influence. You do not need to announce it, others will feel it. Authority settles into your tone. Stillness anchors your movements. People begin to listen differently, not because you demand attention, but because truth resonates when carried by the aligned. Influence flows naturally when it is not chased. Yet, as visibility increases, discernment must remain active. Imposters appear when gates open, those who mimic purpose without depth, echo language without understanding, or attach themselves for proximity rather than alignment. This is not cause for fear, but for awareness. You are not called to confront everything. You are called to remain anchored. Discernment protects what manifestation reveals. This is the moment that calls for courage, obedience, and unwavering clarity. Courage to step forward without over-explaining. Obedience to move when directed even if the path feels unfamiliar. Discernment to know when to act, when to wait, and when to remain silent. Power is not proven by noise. It is confirmed by precision. Now receive this final blessing spoken over your path. May your steps be ordered and your vision unobstructed. May your influence bring healing, not harm. May your authority remain rooted in humility and truth. May what you build outlive applause and withstand time. Understand this truth as you rise. Your appointment was never revoked. Delay did not disqualify you. Resistance did not diminish you. Silence did not erase you. Every season served its purpose. You are not becoming royalty. You are not striving toward identity. You are remembering who you have always been. And as remembrance turns into manifestation, rise without fear. Walk without apology. Govern without compromise. The throne you step into was prepared long before you knew its name. As this message settles into your spirit, receive this moment, not as an ending, but as a commissioning. Everything you have heard, felt, and remembered has been guiding you toward this point of alignment. The throne awaits not as a distant promise, but as a present reality ready to be occupied by the one prepared to carry it with integrity. May a final blessing rest upon you now over your identity, that it remains unshaken by comparison or fear, over your strength, that it endures without hardness, over your wisdom, that it governs your choices with clarity, and over your favor, that it opens doors no resistance can hold closed. May your spirit remain anchored, your vision unobstructed, and your heart aligned with the source from which your authority flows. As you move forward, understand that authority is not something you wait for. It is something you walk in. You do not need permission to be who you are. You do not need validation to move when called. Walk with quiet confidence, knowing that what has been entrusted to you will be sustained by the same power that preserved you. Let your presence speak before your words. Let your decisions reflect wisdom formed in the unseen. Now comes the moment of declaration. The rise has begun. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Every step taken in truth activates what has long been dormant. Every act of obedience strengthens the foundation beneath your feet. You are no longer circling preparation, you are moving in purpose. Do not rush. Do not shrink. Do not look back with regret. The past has already served its role. Carry forward only what sharpened you refined you, and revealed you. What could not follow was never meant to rule beside you. Stand tall in this truth. You were preserved for a reason, awakened for a reason, and positioned for a reason. The world does not need you to be louder. It needs you to be aligned. From alignment flows authority, and from authority flows impact. So go forward with clarity in your sight and steadiness in your steps. Lead without arrogance. Serve without fear. Govern without compromise. The throne you feared was too heavy is now ready because you are ready. And as you walk into what awaits you, remember this above all else: you were never late. You were being formed. Now formation has given way to manifestation, and the path ahead recognizes your name.